In Mark chapter 11, verse 17, it says, "And he, Jesus, was teaching them and saying to them, 'It is not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations.'" Is it not written that way? "But you have made it a den of robbers." Take just a second and read Mark chapter 11, verses 12 through 19. So, what are you passionate about? What really matters to you? What makes you and gets you up in the morning and gets you going? One way to discover your passion is to ask yourself these two questions. What makes me really angry? And what moves me to action? As you consider Jesus' actions on Monday of Holy Week, evaluate your zeal for your faith. So let's look at this story. After being paraded through the streets of Jerusalem on Sunday and hailed as a king, the first place Jesus went was the temple, the same temple that he visited as a child in Mark chapter 11. Mark records that he looked around at everything, and what he saw must have broken his heart. After spending Sunday night in Bethany, which is about 2 miles outside of Jerusalem, Jesus and his disciples made their way back to the crowded city on Monday morning. On the way, Jesus taught his disciples an object lesson using a fig tree that looked healthy, but offered no fruit for a snack for the travelers. Perhaps something about a tree with no fruit reminded him of what he saw in the temple the evening before. So he does to the tree what he's going to do to the temple later that day. He curses it. He's angry at what the fig tree represents: performance without purpose and show without service. The cursing of the fig tree is a sobering reminder of just how much Jesus hates hypocrisy. As Christians, we must consistently live out what we say that we believe, because an unbelieving world is watching. Therefore, let it only see those who practice what they preach. When you think about the Passover, I'm not sure that we can appreciate how significant Passover week was to the Jewish people. A guy named Josephus, who is a Jewish historian, said that over 1 million Jews came to the temple in Jerusalem for Passover. Hundreds of thousands of people packed the streets to take part in this holy celebration. So to participate, they had to meet two requirements: an animal sacrifice and a temple tax. So in one section of the temple, called the Court of the Gentiles, merchants and money changers had set up, let's just say, their stores. The Court of the Gentiles was supposed to be a place of prayer where all people of all nations could enter and worship the one true God. Kind of in your minds, picture a flea market with some tax collectors and some government oversight sprinkled in a little bit. It was not as God intended, and what Jesus saw made him angry. It ignited his passion. It drove him to action. So as you read, watch as Jesus turns over the tables and the people began to scatter, but not before Jesus stung them with these words. He says, "What was intended to be a house of prayer for all nations, you have turned into a den of thieves." You see, God's not impressed with our outward show of religion without an inward change. Those who exploit the privilege or the place of worship invite the anger and passion and holy zeal of God. Jesus said in Revelation chapter 3, verses 15 and 16, that a lukewarm faith makes him sick. C.S. Lewis wisely observed, the only thing Christianity cannot be is moderately important. So this week, examine your passion, your motives. Ask yourself, am I passionate for the same thing Jesus is passionate for? Let me pray for you. Father, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Father, help me to take an honest look at what I'm passionate about. Teach me to be an authentic worshiper. Forgive me for equating busyness with a relationship with you. God, help me to focus on what really matters. Help me to be a contagious Christ follower. Amen.